evening, everybody. Today, I want to talk to you about a very precious resource. It's a resource that is finite. It has its own piece, and we cannot stretch it. We cannot multiply it. We just have to manage it. This resource is our time, and your time is a very precious resource. In order to manage your time, you're going to manage the things you do with your time. And I developed 3 tips that have helped me very greatly in improving my own productivity, in feeling more comfortable and control of my job, and also even making me be more efficient and diligent on the tasks that I have to do during my daily day. These tips can work both in your personal as in your work life. So you can use it with things like your tasks that you have to do for your kids and family or personal tasks, as well as things that you have to do for your boss or your own company. The tip number 1, we're going to call it deal with the small stuff. So tip number 1, dealing with the small stuff. And for this tip, I borrowed a management tool from David Allen. And what he says is very simple. He says, when you get a new task, and let's stop a second to see what is a new task. A new task is a new phone call that ends up in you having to do something, or a new email that you get and you have to respond to that email in some way. Anything you have to accomplish, we're going to talk about that as a task. So when you get a new task, what are you going to do? You're going to first evaluate very quick and see, can I do it in less than 2 minutes? And this is key. At the beginning, when I heard from this tool at the beginning, I'm like, what can you do in 2 minutes? You almost can do nothing in 2 minutes. And it's so not true. I started to use the technique, and I understood that you can do a lot in 2 minutes. And believe me, if you start trying it, you'll see how much. And you can even do more than even before you could do in your life in 2 minutes, just because of this rule. That's the kind of effect it had on me. If you can do it in 2 minutes, just do it. And put that nice check that makes you feel so well and accomplished, like you are doing your stuff and you're checking things out of your lists. Perfect. What happens if you cannot do it in less than 2 minutes? You see, this is a little more complex, it's going to take more time. Well, in that case, there's a second question you're going to ask. This is question number 1, the 2 minutes. Question number 2 is going to be, do I have to do it myself, or can I delegate this into someone else? So if the answer is, I have to do it myself, let's say, well, then I have to schedule it. To schedule, you have your calendar in your computers, you can have the typical planner in paper, you can use tools in your cell phones, there's a lot of nice tools to schedule your calendar. On the other hand, it could be something that you can delegate into someone else otherwise. So what you're going to do, you're going to get that email and you're going to forward it to the right person, you're going to say, please take care of this for me. Yes? Perfect. This is dealing with the small. This was the rule that had the most effect in my productivity. It was a big change when I practiced this, because I started to realize, first, how much I can do in 2 minutes. A lot, like I said before. Also, things didn't get piled up on my inbox or on my calls. Things, I would forget about things, right? But no, you put it in there in the paper, and you know that it's going to be taken care of. When I told my sister about this rule, she was like, so you're doing all this little stuff. What happens with the big stuff? And I'm like, Jimena, you're so right. Tip number 2 is going to take care of the big stuff. Deal with the big, okay? What happens with the big? Usually the big projects, we all have some project. It could be something in your garden, some project in the house. It could be that you have to write a piece of writing. For some reason, I write blogs, for instance. It could be a piece of software, which I also do. Anything that takes concentration, that you need to be there concentrated for a few hours, and any interruption is going to cost you highly, right? That kind of project, you need to schedule it differently. You have to try to avoid, if this is 8 a.m. and this is 12, let's say, and this is 5, I'm sorry. This is your schedule. You don't want a meeting here in the middle of your morning or in the middle of your afternoon. That's going to ruin your production schedule. When you have to use that production hat, you need to schedule production time. And the production time has to be a block of at least 4 hours, right? In your afternoon or in your morning, where you're saying these hours are completely dedicated for the task. Tip number 3 is we already dealt with the little and we dealt with the big. We need now to deal with the important. So tip number 3 is going to be deal with the important. How do we deal with important? And what is important? Well, it is said that the feeling that everything is equally important creates overwhelm. And when I read this, I'm like, this is so true. When you believe that everything is important, you're in a chaos, emergency. It's like you have so many things and you cannot even decide where to start. In order to overcome this overwhelm, I suggest you have a daily goals list. So you have the goals for the day. It would be daily goals, actually. So you have your action number 1, task number 2, task number 3. And what you want is make sure that at the end of the day, you do this every morning, okay? This is the things that I'm going to not lose focus today. You want to check those before the end of the day. You want to finish your day with important stuff completed. These are my 3 tips. They really changed my life in my productivity, also my confidence. I know I'm very confident now. I know I'm a good manager because I can take care of those little things, but I also can take care of the things that take more concentration, and also I can take care of the things that are urgent with the 3rd tip. These things, if you do them daily, they will become habits. When something becomes a habit or a second nature, you don't have to use any energy, you just do it. To me, one of the most amazing effects of using these tips is to watch the clock and see that it's 4:45, and I'm like, okay, what can I do in these 15 minutes that I'm still going to be here? And I usually can squeeze a few things. I can choose a few little things that I can do, and they're going to be checked off my list, or I can choose some big stuff. So really, I think it's awesome if you could try these things. They're going to make you a better householder or worker, but also I think they can make a better you. Madam Toastmaster.